Hello, 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 everybody. I am Stephanie D. Sanders, and this is Getting to Know You. It is a show where I come on here and I talk to nonprofit organizations to see what are they about, what's going on in their world, how can we help them, and hey, you might even be able to suggest it to somebody else. Now, today I have a wonderful lady on this show here today. I met her several months ago. I won't say a year ago, but I met her several months ago at my cousin's event for her nonprofit. It's Goddess Johnson is in the building to talk to us today. Good morning, good morning, good morning to you, girl.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me. Let me
You
make
are
sure.
very, very welcome. Very welcome. Well, Goddess, the show is about talking to people who have the nonprofit organizations, but I kind of like to find out about the person first to see who is this person we're talking to, and then how did you actually kind of transition over into having a nonprofit organization. But first,
Of
let me
course.
know about you. What's going on with Goddess's world?
Man. Okay. Well,
That's a loaded question. I shouldn't have phrased it like that.
no, it's okay. It's okay. I've learned over the years, for to be able to, know where to jump in because I always say there's so many components that is made up with myself. But with me, who I am a person who I like to say that has been dealt a lot of challenges in life. And I am just grateful to God that He has given me the strength to turn those trials into testimonies, So I am a proud, I always say a resilient woman who has.
Mm-hmm. Well, I tell you what, if you don't know it, this beautiful lady here is actually blind. And I wanted you to see this. She's just as beautiful as she can be, just beautiful smile, just radiates. I love her vibrance and the way she is. And even having been through some challenges, and I'm sure we'll talk about in just a moment, um, she has kept the same vibe and resilience. Well, since I've known her, and I'm sure there have been times, downs and ups and things like that, but I love to see the passion that people still have even after those moments of trials. And so, how did you actually become blind? Were you
Yeah.
born that way?
No, I was not. So I was not born blind. It has been 14 years now. Um,
Mhm.
my vision loss, and I actually lost my sight due to a very tragic car accident 14 years ago.
Wow.
I was, working, just any other day to me, I thought, and I was a nurse. So I worked in the emergency room and I worked the overnight shift from 7 at night to 7 in the morning. So I actually was leaving work, headed home. I have my sister who worked with me. She worked in a different department. And we picked up my niece, and on our way home, we were hit. We were involved in a five-car pileup, which resulted in the I don't remember exact details, but it resulted in me having to be in a coma for 8 months. And when I came out of that, I was told that I was blind due to the impact of the accident, and I had lost my sister and my niece.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's deep.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a lot. And
But
just to see you here today, I mean, girl, just you know what?
yes,
I
it,
mean, that's a lot to
it was
put on somebody, at one time. And then how did you bounce back from that?
for me initially, as is for me initially, it was very hard. I want to be very transparent. I
Hmm.
went
Hmm.
stages of I tried the wanted to give up. Why am I still here? Why am I still here? And then why would you let me mad at God? Why am I here? Now I can't see. And I went through this whole back and forth period because I spent 2.5 years in rehabilitation therapy to learn how to, walk again, to learn how to talk speech therapy, to learn, because my body from being in a coma for so long. But my strength, my perseverance came from when I was released from there and I came home. And my now 8-year old son, who was 6 at the time, when I could not explain to him why I could not get from the car to the door without any assistance. And for me, I often say that, my child was my reason for pressing in the beginning. And then later on, it was the knowing of having a second child, which I became pregnant with my daughter after my vision loss and finding out I had a girl. And, that's where my kind of I can't stay down was the fact that I was a mother and growing up with so many trials and tribulations as a young person, not having my mother present due to my mother had been incarcerated since I was 7 years old for capital murder. So I knew what it was like not to have a mother present or a father,
Mhm.
because both of my parents were incarcerated and I grew up in the system. But that's where my motivation, Stephanie, came from, was being a mom and having to show up for them. I didn't really have time to stay down.
Yes, yes, yes. You know how they always say, when we're doing certain things, you have to have your why, your reason why for doing certain things. And see, God placed those children in your life so that you couldn't go down that much further. It gave you something to come out of yourself to be able to love on and support because they needed you
Absolutely.
and they couldn't do it as a child. They couldn't do all the things that they would need to do without the strength of their mother.
Yeah,
So, see, people, when you think about mothers in general, that's not to say fathers aren't strong and whatnot, but women have, I don't even know how to explain it sometimes. There's a certain strength
that's right. Yes.
that we just have innately within us
Mm-hmm.
to take on challenges like no other,
Well,
and multiple ones sometimes at the same time,
right.
and then still maintain a family and a household and things of that nature. So I mean, I applaud you for all of that you've gone through, but still been able to transition out of, to an extent, to be able to function. And I'm talking about, when I say function, it's like, oh my God, this I feel the same way at times. It's like when you come out of, sometimes we're in it when you're going through something or whatever, and then sometimes when you come out of it, there is a certain level of strength
Yes.
and
Yes.
drive and motivation that will propel you forward if you use that energy and
Right.
and strength for the right reasons,
True.
for what you're doing. It will kick you out there way, I mean, almost ahead of the pack.
Beyond anything you can ever expect. That is so true. It's I often say the endurance, it's a renewing of your strength when you're going through and you're going through that process and you don't really realize it, but you're absolutely right. It gives you a sense of strength that you will be able to soar. You know what I'm saying? Way
Mm-hmm.
ever could imagine. And looking back and I look back so much and I just be like, wow, you know what I'm saying? But you're absolutely true. And a lot of people, we have to understand, and with going through, it's a difference between, with going through and having those patience and endurance. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
that,
That's
that's
a whole different endurance there, that patience thing, because it's like you try to handle it on your own. He's like, okay, okay, I'm going to do this, that, and the other. And there's God like,
yep,
no, baby.
that's
Mm-mm.
it.
I
That's it.
got this. I'm in control of this. Now I just need you to sit back in the passenger seat,
That's right.
wait until I drop you off.
That's
Like a kid at school, wait
that's
until I drop you off and you go on. It's like dropping them off at college.
that's right.
Drop
That's
them
right.
off at college and then you go on and be productive and do your thing and then come on back,
Yes.
and
So,
then spread it to the people after you graduate,
that's
But
less. Mm-hmm.
I've noticed you have transitioned from that and you have really made some things work for you, and not only for yourself, you have branched out just like a flower and just bloomed My stepdad told me that bloom right where you are, basically. And
Yeah.
you have just bloomed and blossomed all over the place. Your hand is in this, that, and the other.
Yes, well.
You stepped into, we're going to talk about this briefly. I know we probably don't have to have a part two. So
Oh, yeah. So,
letting you all know ahead of time. It's going to have to be part two.
yes.
She jumped out. She jumped out and said, I might be visually impaired, baby, but I am beautiful and I'm stepping out here. How in the world did you pop out into the whole world of pageantry? Now,
Well,
I'm just going to sit back and just take it all in.
and this is how it was, coming into, I often say now, and it's really true, it really took me to lose my physical sight to really gain my true vision with it
Mhm.
as well. And I'm gonna say that again so it can really hit. It took me to lose my physical sight to truly gain my vision. And coming into this world of, physical sight loss and dealing with the vision loss, I had other trials that progressed along the way. I didn't feel my self-worth. I didn't feel beautiful. I felt like, who will want me now? I felt like I was a person that, was, useless because in the
Mm,
with my vision loss, so that I did not, even though I spent years in the medical field, my blindness to me was like a death sentence. I didn't know what was possible. I didn't know that there were schools for the blind. I didn't know that there were resources. I didn't know this in the beginning. So fast forward, this led me to not have any self-worth to myself, which allowed me to be in a relationship with someone who became very abusive, physically,
wow.
mentally, verbally. And I took it, Stephanie. I took it because I felt like, well, nobody else gonna want me. I'm blind. So this was
This
my
the best that I can get.
it.
Mm,
Wasn't until I ended up, after 7 years of living my life without sight, not knowing, I relocated to Florida. I found out about vision rehabilitation therapy and I started going to the school for the blind.
mhm,
It wasn't until that experience that I started to meet children who had never seen, and they were so full of life, Stephanie. Like, and here I am with my grown self. Woe is me, because the school, it has all different ages, and went through that and excelled and learned my skills. Ended up going back to college and getting my degree so that I could be a teacher now of
mm,
men, women, children who were blind. So my kind of epiphany in all this was, I worked with young people. I worked with the transition students, and they're the high school age, kind of middle school, high school. And I was meeting these young women who were like me. They were in these relationships, they were getting involved with these, and it was not good circumstances, and they didn't feel beautiful, and they were like, oh, I don't want, not going to prime. I was like, oh no. I started to encourage them because I'm like, you're still beautiful, you're still, and through that was me ministering to myself.
mhm,
I actually got into pageantry was back in 2019. I met a phenomenal young lady named Crystal Allen at a convention. Every year we have a big convention, and it's usually in a different big city or state where we come and we learn resources, we get together, we have banquets, and you meet people from all over who are blind and visually impaired, from entrepreneurs to lawyers, to you name it. And it was my very first time going. And I met Crystal Allen there, and she was someone who was just, bubbly, full of life. And she was like, so sparkly. And I'm just like, who is this? And so with her, and she starts telling me about her organization, Eyes Like Mine Incorporated, and about how she has a pageant. And I'm just like, I'm listening because I'm like, Stephanie, I was not the girly girl, okay?
mhm.
It's
Me either.
shoes and
Well,
jeans,
sometimes.
good day, and that was me. Never in a million years was I ever think I would be the heels and dresses. That was not me. So she was actually my introduction into it. And it first started, we became instant connected and started, connecting and resources and sharing. And she asked me first to be in a fashion show. And there was a fashion show for women who were blind and visually impaired. It was the very first fashion show ever like this. And it was out of New York City by Anna Smith, who was the founder of Not My Eyes. So I was like, I am not doing no fashion show. And I was like, I'm not walking in heels. I'm not doing that. And so she was very persuasive. So I did. And that just was the first day I remember walking that runway and feeling so just free, Stephanie.
Mm-hmm.
Just like it was like all of those things was just coming off, and I was walking into my boldness, and I was meeting all these other women who were blind and visually impaired and modeling, and it just gave me a sense of like, wow, within a time that no one knew what I was battling inside with the
Mm.
domestic violence. So leading on to there, I had started volunteering with Eyes Like Mine, and then this pageant was different for me because it was not a beauty pageant. It was more like it was an empowerment pageant because women were empowered. It was highlighting their not just beauty, of course, but the accomplishments that they made within their professional community, and just to go through blindness and be able to show how you grew. And it was just something that I was like, wow, I wanted to do this. And in 2022, I did. I entered the Miss Blind Diva pageant and I ended up winning. And that year was a trying year in itself because I had dropped out of the pageant because I had lost my brother, who was very important to me. And then I ended up going back into the pageant because my brother committed suicide. And when I read the letter later on, one of towards the ending, it was saying, go get that crown. So that was very emotional for me because I had dropped out and I felt like I had to do this because this was something that I shared with him. So winning it was a very emotional,
Emotional, yeah.
yes. And that year that I won, it became a journey to the crown, Stephanie, because that year was a year that changed my life in so many ways, so many endeavors, so many things that I grew from being a pageant title holder. I grew my confidence. I grew who I was. I came into my person. I was able to meet so many different people, from celebrities to regular unsung
Mm-hmm.
heroes, able to show, a lot of times I was the only person they met who was blind. And then you're a beauty pageant title holder. And then, honey, it wasn't nothing I didn't do. I was boxing. I was meeting boxers like idols, Mayweather and Fantasia, one of my idols. And does being able to share my testimony and share my truth and give them a different perspective on this, which led to so many doors opening, and then which led to me joining my next pageant. And a lot of times people say, oh, well, you have your negative and your positive. Well, she won that because that was a pageant for the blind. So me, I'm the type of person, I'm gonna be like, okay, so I went in
Okay.
pageant for the only blind woman in the pageant. And that was my second pageant in 2023, where I was the first African American woman, legally blind woman, to ever win the title of Miss Black America Elegant Diva. So then that was like, yes. So,
Right. It's like, what? Now
yep.
what?
And I was excited and happy, which led to the next year entering my third pageant and being able to win 2024 Crown of America pageant, which it was another pageant where I was the only legally blind woman to compete. And that it has just continued to lead to me wanting to be able to continue to do that, because with pageantry it becomes a sisterhood, and it is something that beauty is within, and beauty
Mm-hmm.
in all forms, shapes, sizes, and your confidence, and we all have our purpose. And I love it because along this road, I was able to become the first ever legally blind pageant director. I became the pageant director for the Miss Blind Diva Empowerment Pageant. So being able to oversee other women, be able to watch them on their journey to come into their truth, it was just a beautiful thing. And I'm just excited to be able to share because I became an inspiration for those young girls coming back. I was living in Florida at the time and coming back to the school when I won. They were like, Miss Goddess. And then they started, well, if you can do it, I can do it. And that's
Right.
to see.
Hmm.
I wanted them to know that they are beautiful and they are worth it and they can accomplish whatever. If it's a model you want to be, you can be it. If it's a beauty pageant title holder, you can be it. There's no limitations on you unless you set them for yourself.
Right, right. Girl, that's some good stuff right there. Because I remember my pageantry days. I was much younger,
Yeah.
but I don't even know why and how I thought about. Oh, I know what it was. I think I won a breakdancing contest. Yes, I used to break dance. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then I got into the pageantry thing, and I totally agree with you. It is like a sisterhood. You meet various people that you never probably would have actually
Actually met.
met or bonded with, even if you live in the same city or
Mm-hmm.
where
And
like
people,
that.
they think, and yes, the crowns are beautiful, the sashes, but for me, with the for the Miss Blind Diva pageant in itself, for me, being able to nominate, I had the joy. I nominated two beautiful women this year that just passed, Rosalind Kennedy,
Yes.
the Jean, and it was so beautiful because I met them through my journey to the crown. They, through social media and being
Hmm.
a diva, they in different aspects reached out to me and they were powerful women. And I just was like, oh yes, you are Miss Blind Diva. I never forget, Ross. She was like, and just to see them like coming to their self and being there on that day and knowing their journey and knowing, it is just beautiful because
Hmm.
you watch women be empowered and come into their purpose and
Yes.
are a blessing to others in the process.
I love to see that. And I've watched her grow so much just
Yeah.
in a short period of time, after we had connected with NFB.
Yes.
And then she told us about you and your group,
Yeah.
my other cousin and I, because all three of us had joined. I'm the one that's not as visually impaired as everybody else, but
Yeah.
mine came from birth, and but I just never, I never thought anything of it, because my mother never treated
Yeah.
me that much differently. Yeah, I went for research and that type of thing, but I never really had been treated super differently. So
Yes.
that was a really good thing in itself. But then to watch Rosalind and my other cousin Valerie, how they progressed
Yes.
over this time, when they lost their vision or where they are now.
Yes.
It's just been great. It's been great to see the impact that they've been able to make on people and
Yeah.
what it has done, what you all have done too, in knowing you have it seems like even more of a strength and a power and an internal growth, even more so even within Rosalind. And
Yes.
it's wonderful. It's wonderful to see that happen,
Yes.
because you see it happen in general sometimes, but there's just, like I said, there's just a different vibe about certain people, and it comes from the depths of
Mm.
your soul, the things that we do and how we do it,
Yeah.
and the power and stuff. It's just a vibe that we carry. And it's a natural thing, because I
Yes.
was listening to something the other day and it was saying everything that's in you is already there. That's
Yeah.
supposed to be,
That's right.
for you to be able to move forward and do whatever you call to do. It's already there, you know.
Yes.
So, but I know aside from that, child, I took up so much time with the other stuff. And No, I knew it was going to be like another episode, but you know what? I'm going to try and slide it in there anyway.
There you go.
I wanted you to talk about your nonprofit organization because you just branched on over into being a businesswoman.
I did. I did. And so through pageantry, I was blessed. This year I started Queens Raising Queens is my nonprofit organization. And the name in itself is just that. So through my journey of pageantry, fashion, I am also a motivational speaker and a life coach. And in my when I'm not doing that, I'm also a social worker and I specialize in mental health. So for me, with Queens Raising Queens, because of all of this, has been to empower women of all ages. So with Queens Raising Queens, I wanted to be able to have a organization that is built up of different types of services, whether it be in that peer-to-peer kind of motivation, having workshops. I do fashion shows, but I do fashion shows for a purpose. So
Hmm.
fashion shows, these are women a lot of times that have survived various circumstances that will cause you to feel not beautiful, whether it's being victims of sex trafficking or domestic violence, coming out of depression. So they get to rip the runway for a purpose.
Hmm.
Our Resilient Women of Legacy Awards gala that we do, which is honoring women from all walks of life. Because a lot of times there are so many women out there that are doing so many great things, have overcame, but no one ever says good job or way to go.
Yes.
And you never
Hmm.
when you need that and you need to get that recognition. And I believe in giving flowers while you're still here.
Yes.
We do mentor and beauty leadership camps for young girls, middle school to high school ages. We also have um, we do journaling. We do all different types under Queens Raising Queens. So it's an empowerment. It's to empower women through our workshops, through our conferences that we have, various signature events, and most of all, building a sisterhood. So I break it up in branches because I want to be able to empower our young women to be able to know their worth, know
Yes.
there are. So we do the charm schools, we do the etiquette with that, teaching them how
Hmm.
a lady, being able to empower them to it's beauty in covering up, it's beauty in being able to present yourself, it's beauty in waiting. You
Hmm.
know, it's given that concept of we all have stories and have went through, and now coming into a woman and knowing I am a queen, I deserve to be treated as such, so that we can be able to let that trickle down into our younger women to be able to let them have that same aspect. So, and coming into having my own pageant for young women to be able to empower them and to be able to see the true beauty in it. So, Queens Raising Queens is built up of several different entities, but
Hmm.
it's the empowerment of women of all ages.
I love that. I totally love that. So I already know I'm gonna be sending
Yeah,
my information over so I can be a part because I'm like I love stuff like that. You
because
know.
we want to, we do retreats, we do well
Hmm.
trees, we being able to get away and kind of you know embrace that, be able to come together and talk about it, kind of do those exercises, center ourselves, and then to build. And then another thing, teaching us financial literacy as women. I do professional entrepreneurship workshops, bringing women together, all walks of life, putting them in the room so they can share, network. So it's about empowering one another, because the greatest gift is knowing how to come together and work together to be able to get through whatever the situation may be. So Queens Raising Queens is just that. We believe in the motto of real queens, uplift and inspire. And that's what we vow to do. And
Oh
we're
man.
yes, ma'am. And Queens Raising Queens, we do have our website. We can be reached by email at
Hmm.
Raising Queens, INC25 at gmail.com. And it's spelled just like it said, Queens Raising Queens. Or contact directly at 803-440-6815. Right now, we are planning, due to with all the what was going on in the world with the traveling and the planes and just so many circumstances. We had over 30 women we'll be honoring this year. We postponed till June, so right now we have our Resilient Women of Legacy award show that will be coming up in June, and then we will be working on our I have our Trailblazer Queens. So we'll be doing that here in South Carolina as well. So always getting involved and being able to be a person of purpose, and I'm always looking for women from all over to come. We do a big birthday party every year for at-risk youth, young girls, ages 12 to 18. It's in November, and it's in honor of my daughter. She actually started this 2 years
Oh,
when she wanted to donate her birthday. We had about 20 young ladies who were all residents of group homes, or they were rescued from trafficking, and this was their very first time ever celebrating a monumental birthday. So we celebrate their 13th, 16th, 18th, and it's a big birthday bash we do, and it's a sneaker ball. So I'm always, looking for women to step up and kind of help me on this journey. That's what.
yes, you will definitely get it. And we're going to make sure we put this show out there because we want people to contribute. We want people to help out. And
Yes,
she gave you her information there. Make sure you jot that down so
yes,
you can find her, get involved, donate, sponsor, send some supplies, any wonderful thing that you think would fit with this particular nonprofit organization here and what Goddess Johnson is doing. Please, please, please check her out, contribute, support, send a great word, call her to come speak, all those good things. But I wanted to have her on here for this show, and now you see why. Now you
yes.
see why I
I'm
had her on here. So I just want to thank you so much, Miss Goddess Johnson, for being on here as we get ready to wrap this thing up here. And make sure you reach out to me, Stephanie D. Sanders, on all social media platforms. If you feel like you have a great story to tell on one of the shows, and this is one of them, getting to know you. I will see you all the next time. I am Stephanie D. Sanders, and from Miss Goddess Johnson, we say thank you. Peace.
Thank